Hey, Chris. Welcome to another week of Cyber Talk with Chris and Bob. Um, I know we were just chatting a little while ago, and I think that I think something we need to talk about with people really is, is Windows Update enough? Is that enough to keep? Is that enough of what people should be doing to keep their systems up to date, or is there more?
Well, so what we're talking about is patch management in general, like just making sure that things are taken care of. Like everybody, a lot of people believe Windows Update's enough. I'm gonna say no, but also if you have software as a service, at least most software as a service applications do have automatic patching, so we can cover those. But some of the worst exploited vulnerabilities last year, or even into this year, were from applications that just maybe don't get patched with Windows Update, or they're on servers and people are afraid to install updates. That's a big one
Sure.
where they're afraid to install the Windows updates because they're afraid it's going to break something. And that's what we see as a big jumping point for a lot of people. Um,
Well, last year we had that huge Exchange server issue where there was actually it was with the FBI or somebody was actually doing patching of client machines to turn that stuff off.
oh yeah, they went and got
Court
the
order.
Department of Justice went and got got it approved for basically essentially like a no knock situation where they can just hack into your Exchange server and put in a mitigation. However, what they didn't do is actually fix it. So they stopped it. But if somebody already had a foothold on your network, meaning they already had access in your network, they probably didn't get rid of that.
Oh, okay.
They just stopped people from keeping hacking your Exchange server. So if you're already owned by a hacker, you're still owned. And then the funny part about that one was they were like, we'll send an email to a public email address or call you on one of your public lines and tell you after we did it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm sure that worked out well. I'm sure the FBI has enough agents that can make those phone calls. And
Well,
people are still getting hit by that. Like, they still didn't patch their Exchange servers. I still keep seeing people get hit constantly from just because they just won't patch them.
yeah,
So
a lot of those machines are sitting there. People don't even realize they're there anymore, but they're sitting on the network. But
oh yeah,
what I was really thinking we should probably talk about is, what's happening on the end user side. We've got all these people that are running a whole bunch of other apps on their PC.
yeah,
They run Windows updates and said, "Oh, I'm good." When when it comes down to, there's a lot of stuff sitting out there. I know Zoom, when the pandemic started, Zoom's being used so much, had
yep.
pretty much had a release of the week or the day. And if you get the latest version of the Zoom client right now, they've taken the option of updating away from the user, so it's just doing it automatically now. The
Yeah,
option doesn't even
I
show
never
up.
understood that. Like, you had to go manual update because they would update eventually, but it'd be like many versions later, or it would auto update. I thought that was stupid. Well, they had a nasty RCE, remote code execution too, that happened. Um, let's pick something else. Let's pick open source software. 7-Zip.
Okay.
It's a popular zip program, right? They had a big time vulnerability where you could do remote code execution. Um, there's a vulnerability there. Adobe is always a sticking point. You open up a PDF and it might exploit something inside of Adobe. That's a big one that people get hit with, especially if they don't have newer versions of Adobe or they don't patch the Adobe. Like, let's say you're just using Adobe Reader. If you're not patching it, or if worse, somebody set a policy to never patch it, never update it, you could launch a PDF and basically have your entire system taken over. And
We've come across several people that, 5 years ago I bought Adobe. Why do I have to buy it again? People are just using want that old that old software reinstalled, and in some cases it works, but it's not secure.
yeah,
It's
we
just sitting there.
we won't do it once it's end of life from a vendor and they no longer are providing security updates for it. We actually actively refuse to install it
Makes
because
sense.
there's so many things that can go wrong with that. Log4j was probably a big one last year too. It didn't really hit small business as much, but enterprises and even maybe some bigger medium sized enterprises, it just gutted because there's it's open source and it's used in so many different applications
Hmm. Yeah, well,
that
that's the thing. Log4j wasn't something that was actually individually installed. It was embedded in other apps. So
yep.
if people weren't upgrading all their apps, they could have still had it when they had the one.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a little bit on developers, and that's a little bit on, if you have your own development team, but still third-party applications, still something that we have to make sure that we patch. Excellion was a file storage company. There's a local bank here that got hit by that, and they had a big breach because they hadn't patched their file sharing server, and they had people's social security numbers and stuff on there, and it was hit from the internet. They just didn't patch it, and it got hit. Let's see here.
And then, the updates, like you said, you said you won't install, but you get people that have same thing with Microsoft Office, that they still want to buy. They still want to buy perpetual licenses when it doesn't make sense anymore.
Or they want to keep using like 2010 or 2013 or 2016. They have known exploits to them that 2016 will still be patched. So as long as you're getting additional patches. That's the other thing too with Windows Update that people don't really know. You have to turn on the additional Microsoft updates. So if you do get like the perpetual Office and you don't turn those options on, it'll never patch it.
Right.
So just leave it sitting there unpatched, and you're sitting there and you may not know that. And now you're sitting there, could be exposed to like some sort of, again, remote code or something else that can be used. So it's definitely important. Browsers are big time important. I mean, everybody's using a browser these days. Most browsers update automatically. However, I've seen we've went into some customers and some prospects where somebody turned updates off, or the automatic update process could break and you don't know. Right. So it tries to update in the background, but it just doesn't work and you have no idea. And meanwhile, you can be sitting there with a browser that it just has an open vulnerability that if you just go to a website and there's an advertisement on it, it could just launch something and you wouldn't even know it.
So all these missing updates and things would be something you'd uncover on a risk assessment, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. Vulnerability scan. If you're doing a risk assessment, you're doing any kind of vulnerability scanning, you should be able to identify those apps. And when we say vulnerability scanning, we're looking for other things too, but we're specifically looking on every device for software that's running and comparing that to like known vulnerabilities and then known versions that aren't vulnerable anymore. So yeah, we'd get that 100%.
And, typically we're your insurance company now is pretty much requiring that you do annual risk assessments and vulnerability scans of the devices on your network, and also have a good inventory of the devices on your network, because you never know what's sitting out there that could be vulnerable or doesn't belong on your network.
Not even devices too, just applications in general, right? Like all your applications. And this is the danger that we run into a lot with people that have admin rights. People install applications and you don't even know it.
Right.
They're like, oh, I found this shareware or something on the internet. I just downloaded it and installed it. People shouldn't have the rights to do that in a business. You want to do that on your home machine. If you want to roll the dice, play the lottery, whatever you want to call it, go ahead. But
there's so much risk there, both from the cyber issue, but also the business liability issue, because if we get somebody out there downloading pirated software into the network, and we come in and do an audit, a compliance audit from Microsoft or other companies, the business could end up getting a bill for tens of thousands of dollars, because last time I saw one, somebody that got hit with Microsoft for Microsoft pirating, they didn't get billed for Microsoft Office. They got billed for each piece of Microsoft Office that was out there. Yeah.
Well, so the alternative is it's like $250,000. I think the fine is per incident. So it's either you pay Microsoft or you pay a fine, which the fine is always going to be more than just paying Microsoft at that point. Absolutely. Both hurt. I'm not saying both don't hurt. Piracy's bad anyway. You shouldn't be doing that. It's dangerous as well. A lot of times they hide like other things inside of it that could be like recording your keystrokes and things like that. So definitely don't do that. Don't go out there and do that. That's obviously bad. But no,
so the mission for people this week really is make sure all your stuff's updated. All the software that you're running on your PC, even the stuff that you're not running on your PC, because it's still out there, it's still vulnerable and could be exploited.
Yeah, I think number one would be make an inventory. Make an inventory of the software that you need to run your business. And I'm talking everything. It could be a browser extension. It could be something you're using inside of a Chrome or Edge, whatever. You should have an inventory of all the applications that your company uses to conduct business. And if you talk to one of us or talk to somebody that does a risk assessment, they're going to be able to tell you what other software is installed. You can compare that. And then on top of that, what version should everybody be running? And you should be looking at that, make sure that everybody's running the same version. Plus, a lot of times when you have version mismatches, you have other issues. Maybe there's something that somebody edited a document and they made a change because their version's newer than the other person's, and now they can't read the file.
Yep.
So, trust me, that's not the easiest stuff to find. So if you know that everything's on the same version, it's a lot easier to troubleshoot as well.
Absolutely. So, if anyone has a topic they'd like us to cover on a future call, love to hear them. Drop them in the chat below, and in the description where you're watching this video, there is a link to actually assess your risk for your business, and go to the link. Fill out. It's like a 1 minute. It's a 1 minute survey, and you'll get some results, and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
that's all I got for this week, Chris.
I think I'm gonna make my risk assessment like 300 questions. Okay. 1 minute, 2 hours, whatever. No, I think it's good. Just having asset inventory is important in general. So start with software and then go with hardware, I would say. And then make sure you're patching your stuff.
It's a patch week. Have a great day.
It's patch week every week. Have a good day.